What's going on, y'all? It's your man June Archer here, the Winner Circle on thisis50.com. My guests today are not only icons, not only musical geniuses, and they are family. Please welcome to the stream, giving us their fifth studio album in over 20 plus years of just beautiful music. Welcome to the stream, After Seven, Kayvon, Keith, and Daniel. What's going on, fellas?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's up? Happy to be here.
Man, it's so good to see you guys. New album, Unfinished Business. Like y'all haven't dropped it like it was hot many times before this. What was the inspiration behind this album? Kayvon, I'll start with you.
It really was nothing more than at a time when everything seemed to be kind of going a little crazy for us all in the world. Felt like the bottom dropped out. And people were kind of scrambling, trying to figure out what their pathway was. Some people, I think, some people stagnated. Some people were just really flustered, and then some of us pivoted. We figured out there was another way to do this thing, and we were fortunate enough to be able to make a shift. And instead of I'm not going to say panic, but just in the struggle of trying to determine what the direction was, it was about getting back into the studio and taking this time to record something. I think that probably meant more today than it has in a while. To just sing about those things that make us feel good inside. People needed something like that, and I guess sometimes when you get turned around and can't figure out which way to go, sometimes going back home is. That's the joint, and that's what we felt like we wanted to do, was bring people back home with the kind of music that we felt brought them together in the first place. So, and in doing so, it was like it was us saying to all of our fans, and maybe even some of the ones who don't know us yet, hey, there's more in us. There's more stories in us to tell, more stories in us to share with you about music, about matters of the heart, love, and relationship. And that's why that's partly why we titled the album Unfinished Business.
And not only did you bring it home, I love the saying, the more things change, the more things stay the same. You guys have the amazing Babyface album, Babyface Edmonds on the project with the amazing producer, my brother. But also, for one of the first times, you have a feature in Stokely from iconic Mint Condition. How did it feel? Daniel, I thought it was to you to work with not only Babyface, but also to have Stokely on the album.
Tell the truth, Danny.
Oh man, hey look, you're gonna try to put me on the spot. All right, so look, here's the story. We was in the studio. Of course, I was a little geeked because it's first.
Why wouldn't you be? Why wouldn't you be?
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So it's a double whammy for me because I'm recording as After Seven, but on the other, it was a Zoom call because it was a height of the pandemic. So we were recording this project via Zoom, and I had to get my 2 cents in. I didn't get to say hi or what up. It was nice to meet you. So I was just like, the way they're gonna paint it.
Right.
The way they're gonna paint it, I stopped the whole session.
Yeah.
That's not what happened. You see, what had happened was I was like, hey man, I just want to let you know, man, Stokely, it's an honor to meet you. My name is Danny McClain. Yeah. Hey man, I was geek, whatever. I was excited. I mean, I had every reason to be excited. I'm in the studio singing as After Seven and get to record with Stokely. That I what I'm saying? What can you how high can you get from there? Oh no. And then of course Babyface's part, but that's another story.
So let me ask you this then, Daniel. How is it working being one of the newest members of After Seven and understanding the legacy, what they actually brought to music and R&B music specifically?
Ah man, it felt great. It felt great because they've always been musical influence to me, so it wasn't that hard for me to catch on. I studied Melvin enough. It was hard to study Kevon because Kevon was always in the stratosphere, but but what I did study from Kevon, especially being in the studio, was that you know, less is more. You know, the subtlety of what you got to say doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, all this other jazz or whatever. You know, you could take your time and actually tell the story in such a way. But anyways, yeah, it was a pleasure, man. It was a pleasure. I got to learn a lot. I got to soak it all in, you know, and yeah, man. That's all I could say.
For you, Keith, what I love about this project, I am an After Seven fan. One of the things that I noticed on this project is the interludes from our late great Melvin. How was it including him in this project, and what did that mean to be able to layer what you're giving us in this unfinished business to make it a complete package?
Well, I think that aspect of having Melvin's voice there, Melvin's thoughts and his feelings, it made the project very special because, in fact, Kevon and I, prior to Timeless, had basically made commitments that we didn't want to record again unless we had Melvin's voice involved in it. And so it was a deep thing to go almost 20 years without recording and not having Melvin there to be a part of it. Because Melvin, you know, the After Seven situation was really built around his soul, his sound. He was the anchor. And the business aspect of the business was something that came hard for Melvin. So when we were able to get Melvin to come back and sing with the Timeless Project, it felt whole, it felt right, and it was the right time for us all to come back and do that project. But without him, I don't know if today there would be unfinished business. And that situation forged a pathway for us to be back here in a position where we felt comfortable about moving forward after losing Melvin, because that it took a big piece of After Seven out of our hearts and out of our spirit of life. But in order for us to go forward, you know, Kevon and myself both felt like we need to be able to pull his spirit back into the project. And Melvin had said some profound things about music, about our love for music, about his love and passion for music over the years. And we were able to capture some of those things that he had said over the years on tape. And it felt only perfect that those overdubs were placed in places in the unfinished business, because he's helping us forward the pathway for unfinished business. And so it's our way of bringing him forward. It also allows the fan base who miss him dearly and appreciate what he brought to this entity. It forges him in us and our sound forever. So it's a touchy situation even talking about it, but that's
okay. For you, in the interlude, our brother talks about music has always been a part of his life as far as he can remember. Also, as a family, and so that's the most important thing, right? That's woven in the fabric of who you guys are. For you, having these amazing brothers of music and blood brothers, where did you guys even get the inspiration to begin singing? Like, how did you start putting pen to pad? How did Babyface start? How did y'all even think about, right? Because I want to dive deep, man. I want to talk about the superficial stuff, man. Like, was your mom singing? Was your dad singing? Were you guys somewhat like the Jackson Five? Like, there's too much talent in one family for it not to be birthed somewhere.
Right. You know what? There's a commonality with the Edmonds and the Jacksons. Both our last names end with S. One. The other part is we were from Indiana, so there were certain comparisons that we were both big families and stuff. But you know, my mother and father both enjoyed music. My father even had jazz. I don't know if you're old enough to know anything about 33s on wax and stuff. You might not know what I'm talking about.
Of course, I don't know if Daniel knows, but I do.
Okay. or 78s, but we won't get into all of
We're
that.
not gonna get into that because then you're gonna talk about reel to reels, 8-tracks, and he don't know nothing about that. We can talk about ADATs and all that, and Daniel still won't know what we're talking about. It's all right. 2-inch reels, Daniel. It's okay. We'll catch you up later.
Nothing. Okay, but but you know, real talk. Back in the day, I mean, those are the things that played in our household, and you know, Melvin. My father. When you talk about reel to reel, my father used to have a reel to reel. We had 2 different types of reel to reels, and he would let us talk on them just to hear ourselves. And I don't even know what that was about, other than maybe my father had a fascination with recordings in a way that we were unaware, but it was a fascinating thing for us to be able to hear our voice, whether we're talking or reading or singing or whatever it was. Just to have something like that was I mean, I don't know anybody else in the neighborhood who was doing anything like that. So maybe somewhere, some kind of way, a seed was planted. You know, my mom sang in the choir at church, but you know, we had a natural affinity for music, and I recall times when, you know, we would sit on the front porch, me, Kenny, and Melvin. We sit out there, Kenny be playing guitar, and we'd be just singing, figuring out harmonies on different things. And Kenny became this writer. We didn't know that he was a writer because, you know, he was a very quiet guy, and as a bigger brother, maybe just a year older than him, it was my job to wear him out in some kind of way, tease him, mess with him. It was my job. I didn't know it was my job, but that's how it came down. So if I saw him writing a little something, you know, it was for me. It might have been a song. For him, it might have been a song. For me, that was a love letter. You writing a love letter, ain't you? So he got towed up many times by his big brother back in the day. But what I will tell you is, I know that Melvin was the front runner. Melvin was the one who brought the idea of entertainment and live performance into our household in a way that we never knew anything about. There was no one else in our family, not uncles or cousins or anybody who did anything like this. Melvin was the one who had it in him to go and perform, and he had a desire to have live music. So he had a band at the age of 15, 16 years old, where he was a front man of a band. And so Kenny and I really that was our first look at what music looks like live, you know. And so he kind of laid the groundwork. He kind of planted the seed for us to know what that was. And after seeing something like that, that's when Kenny kind of really began to pick up the guitar. Kenny, being left-handed, you know, had to take a right-handed guitar, turn it upside down, and play it. Because in a family of 6 boys and just trying to get it like you live, ain't nobody buying you a left-handed guitar. So you're gonna have to take that right-handed guitar if you want to play it, do exactly what it is. So that's how Kenny learned to play a guitar. So it was just music all around us, but we prefer to sing and harmonize. It's like what Melvin said, you know, music. For as long as I can remember, music was always a part of our life in our family, you know. And I have other brothers who may not be as astute musicians, but I have brothers who played the bass and so on and so forth. So somewhere in there it wasn't quite the Jacksons, but we did have an S on the end of our name. That's all I can say.
And that's really all that matters. That's all that matters. I want to dive into the album. There's so many amazing tracks on here, but one that stands out that I think pretty much speaks volumes to what we've been through over the past almost going on 2 years. No Place Like You. The song talks about and makes reference to you could build a house of the finest materials, gold, silver. You could spend millions of dollars and make this thing as beautiful as you want, but doesn't necessarily make it a home. One of my favorite songs, and
I already know where you're going, but go ahead. I'm listening.
Some of the dopest music that y'all made, for me, one of my favorite movies, 5 Heartbeats. House Is Not a Home. I want to talk about what it takes as men. I want to dive deep for some of the men that are watching and the women that are watching and listening as well. As men, how can we build stronger foundations as our women who have been the pillars and the backbones of our families and communities? What can we do as men, especially men of color, knowing that we have this tuggle with law enforcement, bad law enforcement? Let me be specific. To be able to put our best foot forward, how can we as a community make this village concept stronger and make the foundation stronger moving forward?
One, respect our queens. Show them the kind of respect that they deserve. As you said yourself, they have been the backbone of our families. You know, they've always had to be strong, even stronger than a lot of men and women, because oftentimes when we're pulled out of our households and so on and so forth, for whatever the reasons may be, they've had to stand strong and raise a family. You know, when my father passed, not from illness, my mother was left with having to raise 6 boys by herself. I don't have any idea how she was able to do that, but she was strong enough to do that. So what you'll find with After 7 is that from our inception to today, how we appreciate, how we love, how we respect our Black women, we send that message through our songs. Now, we may go through for some changes in our relationship and so on and so forth, because that's going to happen no matter who you are, white, Black, young, old, or whatever it is. But we're going to love you. We're going to sing about you. We're going to celebrate you, give you the respect that you deserve in our songs. You're not going to find us knocking you down, sweetie. I don't know what you get from somebody else, and maybe that works for some others, but it's never worked for us. I respect my mother. I respect my wife. I respect my daughter. And these are the messages that we continue to try to drip on our Black brothers and our sisters to let them know this is what you can get. This is what you expect from After 7. I'm not going to refer to you now. We all say some things we don't mean, but it's one thing to say something in passing. It's another thing to record it and let you hear it over and over and over and over again, because it begins to take hold. And I think that's kind of what's happened with us and our generation and some generations to follow. We haven't been true and faithful to our women who have been true and faithful to us. It's a job that we have to do much better at.
Daniel, for you, Kayvon just said something really pivotal. Generationally, you are of a different generation, and the generation that came before you, the After 7s, the Isley Brothers, and there's so many countless others, Earth, Wind, and Fire. We talk about courting. We talk about making love. We talk about passion and intimacy, where as the generations behind us started talking about more sexual things and being graphic in nature. With this album and what After 7 represents, where do you see R&B? Can we get that intimacy back? Can we get lyrically more creative with what we're talking about when it comes to making love and intimacy, that we can show our young people? Because I feel like after Key Sweat, Make It Last Forever, I feel like we don't really have a song for these young people to have as their homecoming song or their prom song. Like, I don't know if you could put on a Chris Brown song and say 20 years from now that was our prom song. And no, Chris Brown is my guy. I love Chris. I work with Chris. Yeah. But there's so many other. I'm just saying Chris because he's out front and he's an icon in himself. But some of the young artists who, in the studio session 2 years ago at the Grammys, I'm listening to the music and I'm running the session. I said, guys, can we? For the past 3 days, y'all talking about sex every song. Can we stop? Like, let's take a break. Let's just go get lunch, take a break, and can we talk about something other than sex? Mm-hmm. Daniel, I want you to speak about that and the generational gap, and what can we do to bring love back to R&B music?
I mean, I gotta say, I came up in the 90s where, I got to see a bit of the 80s and the 90s, where there was a lot of love making, if you will. We had the Marvin Gaye, sexual healing and all that stuff or whatever. I just think as time progressed, um, or we could say in the history of mankind, we've always been obsessed with the idea of a thrill. And, in order to be reeled into whatever it is. So, during the 90s, man, it just got worse and worse and worse with the songs, in terms of, being explicit. And that generation um, end up becoming those who carry the torch and so forth. And now we're in a situation where a lot of the songs about chivalry and, things like, you know, you know, uh, in the past, it was okay to be sensitive. In the past, it was okay for a man to even cry. But now it's just kind of like, you got to man up, or rather, there's a lot of songs about dissing women, for feeling like women, for empowering other women, and, where I think we should be taking it is what Kevon had already stated earlier. Um, but I also think that it's about getting to the youth, because if they can be able to absorb from their elders, if they can be able to absorb the kind of music that we're dealing right now, where it's about love, it's about the idea of a harmonious relationship, and that it's not going to be peachy key, but we do what we got to do to make it work. Some people want to throw away the house despite the light bulb, instead of fixing the light bulb to keep the house. Not a lot of people are on that tip, and by that kind of example, you're teaching the youth how to embrace the idea of a healthy relationship, and that not everything is instant oatmeal. You dig what I mean? So I think we're on the right path. And I'm blessed to be part of such an album that will be able to do that to the youth. Tupac has said something where he was like, I may not, be the one to change the world, but something along the lines of I'll be the one to spark the mind of the youth that will be able to change the world. And I think this is what this album is doing, amongst many of After Seven albums. And I hope I said what I needed to say, but overall, it's about us men setting the example, and not just for our women, but for the youth.
I want to piggyback up to what you said. I love that, Daniel. For you, Keith, um, he said, sparking that thing. For you, anyone who's in a relationship right now, or just trying to go through something with COVID or losing a loved one, the best piece of advice that you've gotten along your journey that you could share with someone that could let them know that there is light at the end of the tunnel, like better days are coming and this too shall pass. What gem can you share with those who are watching and listening today that will give them hope?
Well, from my experience growing up in a real spiritual oriented um, environment, it begins and ends with love and God. And I think that the times that we're living in today, our youth are not being exposed to enough God, which in turn is love. And without that as the guide on, um, it becomes extremely difficult with the social environment of where things have gone with the digital world, I don't care world, I'm doing my thing world. I think people have turned their ear and their eyes away from the spiritual sense of who they are and whatever blessings that you're receiving, where they came from, and to acknowledge the fact that God has a mission for your life. People are ignoring that, and they ignore it a lot because they don't spend enough time when they're growing up to get enough knowledge about who they are and what they have rights to. So if you don't know the tools that God has put forth for you, it's hard for you to use it. So it's a very difficult answer that to your question, But the root of the answer lies in your spiritual beliefs and whether or not you spend enough time learning about the Word of God. And in the Word of God, you'll learn more about who you are and what you have rights to. And if you turn away from that, it's a bleak situation. But for those of us who love God and God, know the Word of God, believe in Him, know that His manifestation of any success that we're having, our longevity in this business isn't because of Keith, Kevon,
Nope.
and Danny and Jason and Melvin and Babyface. It's because we have lived and been dipped in the spiritual sense of our existence through our parents. And the substance of your answer lies pretty much in the fact that we got 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 generations that weren't dipped in what we were dipped in. But we just have to continue to set an example, speak about it, not be bashful to share it. When you get a chance to speak to someone, young person who doesn't know him the way we know him, you do that. But I still believe, as long as we still living and are able to talk about the love of God and that spiritual sense of who we are, we have to do our part. And I think our example in what we have done over 32 years is the example of our love and appreciation for God, the Word of God, and where our parents have guided us, has given us the tools to. So our example, we're trying to lead it by what we do. But it's a deep subject, man.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love the answer. I love the answer. It's something that I think a lot of people can use and take away something out of that. Music is a soundtrack to our lives. For you, what song best represents your journey up to this point, or which artist best represents your journey? I'm gonna start with you, Danny.
Yeah, Danny. You see that shot? We can't hear you. You muted.
Yeah. That's a tough one, man. Wow. I wish I had time. Yeah. All right. Once again, the question is,
what song best represents your journey up to this point, or which artist embodies your journey up to this point that you may listen to, be inspired by, or just allows you to get in that zone?
Oh, Young, Gifted, and Black, Donny Hathaway. Yeah, that's a good song. That's a real good song. I've I can see all our lives in that song, but to be a Black person, in the world today, and kind of moving forward, I just you kind of have gratitude towards how things are moving along, despite the obstacles that may come in your way, so yeah, I don't know, that's the best answer I can come up with at the
Keith, for you, what song or artist best embodies your journey up to this
Well,
point?
I have to say both. The song would be "The Greatest Love of All" is "Learning to Love Yourself," Miss Whitney Houston, and I think it best expresses what's lost in a lot of us is the love that we have for ourselves. So, in order to have love, to give love to someone else, you gotta love yourself the most because the same God that's in you is the same God in the other person. You gotta love yourself. So, Whitney knocked it out the park. Go ahead, Kate.
You got me. Shoot. I'm listening to both you brothers and hearing what y'all got to say. Y'all nailed it. Y'all nailed it. I'm glad he went with Danny first, because I'm struggling. Like, because there's so many songs. It's hard for me to nail down which one is which. I'm at a loss, and I will tell you honestly, when you said that at the beginning, I was like, oh God.
Yeah. Me too. I was like,
you got me, man. I mean, and I can't think of this song right now. I can't remember when you said it to me. The song that came to mind, and it was Major Harris, but I'm going blank on the song. You got to know this song. What's the song by Major Harris? Luther covered it. Can't hear you.
You're on mute.
You muted, Keith.
Oh. Love won't let you wait.
Love won't let me wait.
Yeah.
The time is right. You hold me tight. Love's got me high. That song, it conjures up just some memories at a time when I wasn't really quite sure what my road was. I just didn't really know what that was at the time, and for some reason, that song just kind of has always stayed with me, has resonated with me. I know where I was, I know what I was doing, and it was like sunshine for me. That was back in the day of Indiana University, Mr. Keith Mitchell. Wow, remember? Yeah.
So that's the original though, Kayvon. Because the only version I remember is Luther.
Oh, really? Oh, no.
I remember Luther doing a version, which he absolutely nailed.
Oh, of course.
I have to go back and
That's
listen.
the one I remember.
Anything he covers, he kills. that's what Luther did. He took it and made it his own. That's what Luther did. But Major Harris is the one who laid that down.
I'm gonna listen to that. I'm gonna listen to that. So if it didn't get any worse, now I'm really gonna throw a monkey wrench in your program.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Right.
We have 15 amazing tracks on this project. If someone were to listen to the album for the first time and had the opportunity, now, Kayvon, Keith, Daniel may not even understand this. If someone had to put the needle on one of those grooves, right, out of the 15, they had to if you told them, all right, I'm gonna put the needle on this particular joint, which song would you play for them to get the feeling for what this album represents? Kayvon, what song would you play them and put the needle on first on Unfinished Business?
I would probably go with Made a Man of Me. Made a Man.
Don't do that, Daniel, because you gotta have your own record. Keith, what about you?
He was reading my mind. I just,
Keith, what about you? Later for you, Daniel. Keith, what about you?
No Place Like You.
It's a dope record. All right, Daniel, and now for you.
All right.
Copycat, come on, what you got?
These guys, they took my answers. It's like there's plenty of love on that record. Tomorrow Can Wait is a real good one too. Yeah, Tomorrow Can Wait.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah.
And what do you want people to walk away from with this album? What is the one thing in one word that they could what you want them to walk away from after listening to this album? Daniel, I'll start with you, Keith, and then Kayvon.
That love ultimately still prevails.
See it?
Okay, next.
One word. One word.
Oh, one word.
One word.
Chivalry.
Okay. Nice. All right. Keith, for you.
Still Doing It.
One word.
That's three. That's 3 words. One word.
Yeah.
Love.
All right. Brother Kayvon, for you.
And I got to give it what it always deserves because this is what we do. This is what After 7 does. Our music is timeless. Timeless is the word I use.
Okay.
There you go. The new album is here. It is birthed. You will not be disappointed. It's called Unfinished Business. After 7, featuring the amazing Stokely from Mint Condition with my man Damon doing something and the amazing Babyface Edmonds. This is Kayvon, Keith, and Daniel of After 7. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Listen, if you haven't listened to what they said, love always prevails. Find something other than all the material things in the world to build your home. And when we talk about home, we're talking about your foundation. Lift up our young women. Lift up our women of color.
Yeah.
Those are the backbones and the pillars of our communities. And start with love. Start with chivalry. And make sure whatever you do, do it with love. Do it intentionally.
Not for love.
Tell somebody that you love them, because it may be the last time you have the opportunity to do so. Any parting words, gentlemen? Where can we find you? Where can we follow you? And how can we get the album?
All right. So what y'all can do is y'all can follow us on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, including our website. And the handle is After 7 Music. That's at After 7 Music. Matter of fact, to get a signed autograph of our new CD, Unfinished Business, go to our website and or Instagram, click on the bio, and it's smooth sailing from there. But make sure y'all check it out, because I'm pretty sure y'all gonna enjoy it.
If you love real R&B music and you love that chivalry is not dead and love is in the air, you're going to love this album, Unfinished Business. This is your man, June Archer. That's After 7, the winner circle here on this50.com. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Like it, love it, share it with somebody, and go get that album. Thank y'all for tuning in. Peace.
Thanks for having us.